trust yourself well enough to say, you know what, I'm showing up for myself, I'm going to do this. And even if it doesn't work out, I'll still show up for myself, you know. And when I read our next speaker's introduction, I didn't know how to feel. I found it very, very interesting. So I'll just dive into it. Our next speaker is speaking to the title, The Ultimate Measure of a Leader, Integrity, Resilience, and Power. I resonate a lot with resilience because I truly believe that in anything that you encounter in life, allow yourself to succumb to the temptation of being really resilient. Life will challenge you, it's a guarantee that one, but you never give up on yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Frans knows firsthand that true leadership is not learned in a classroom. It is forged through real-world adventure, grit, and the open road. He is an accomplished speaker and facilitator who takes the lessons, risks, and triumphs of his extensive Harley-Davidson travels and transforms them into powerful strategies to inspire and add massive value to our lives. Today, he is drawing on his personal connection to a legendary brother-in-arms and professional soldier to challenge how we look at character under pressure. We tend to lose ourselves when we are really under pressure. So one must be very mindful and present. Be present when you are, I'm losing myself, and come back to self. It truly matters. We need you to be home. An expert on pressure, Frans also manages a complex international trade office, a role he performs with such absolute stealth and zero corporate recognition. Now, we are pretty sure he is in the witness protection. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Frans Nortje.
No build-up, instant chaos. 1 second the vehicle was traveling, the next you are flying through the air, blown up almost into pieces. This is exactly what happened to my friend. His vehicle triggered an anti-tank mine, 15 kilograms of TNT. His life changed, the blink of an eye. As he was thrown into the air, looking down, there was one thing going through his mind. I'm going to meet Jesus today. Looking down, the vehicle exploded. Black smoke, a fierce fire. The heat so intense, it threw him higher into the air. And then falls down as fast as he was projected into the air. Into the burning vehicle, the exact place he was projected from. His legs were tangling all over him. His body got caught inside his vehicle, and the boots were in his face. The ball of hell fire engulfed him to such an extent that it sucked oxygen out of his lungs. He struggled to breathe. Later in his book, Riding the Edge, he wrote the following. He He said, on a day, if you measure it on a scale of 1 to 10, that day was 9.5, with 10 being death. That man is a brother in arms. That man was a friend, Dave Barr. He survived that day. He recovered in one military hospital. Took him 9 months and more than 20 serious operations. And eventually, he lost both his legs. One just above the knee, and the other one just below the knee. So, but here, we're here to talk about leadership. So let me ask you about leadership. When we think and when we talk leadership, what is it that we talk about? Strategy. Targets. We need to make sales targets, and then we go sit in the boardroom and we schedule meetings. But people, you know what real leadership is? It shows up when things go wrong. When the plan disappears. When everything falls apart. That is where leadership is revealed. Let's talk about leadership. Let's take Dave's story and maybe talk about 3 pillars of leadership. Resilience, integrity, and power. And you know what? If you combine those, you become an impeccable leader. It's a pity that I did not speak about impeccability, prepare about impeccability. And those pillars are so strong that when you use them correctly, you will be an impeccable leader. Let's start with resilience, or what we understand, or what we think that we know about resilience. I think we know that, bouncing back, that is resilience. When things change, we just bounce back. Unfortunately, Dave Barr couldn't bounce back. Remember, he lost his legs. So, what resilience is, it's more than bouncing back. So, real resilience is you need to accept the new reality. You need to adapt to this new reality. And then you need to move forward and continue with the new reality. After 9 months in the hospital, Dave was released. He went back to 44 Parachute Brigade. Yes, a parachute brigade, a specialist unit. He didn't slow down. He still jumped out of airplanes. He still did some skydiving. Let me tell you a funny story. Once he went on his skydiving expedition and he lost a leg. So what he did was, he wrote in the paper and he said, please, if there's anyone that could find my leg, this is my excuses and I've lost it. And there was an old man and his wife sitting in the garden having tea, and the next moment the leg just dropped next to their butts. But they returned it to him, and from that moment forward, he never jumped with his legs in. So, but that's not all that he did. He modified his Harley Davidson. He had a a big Harley Davidson and he modified it so that it was possible for him to now ride this Harley without lights. Friends, he did 134,000 kilometers touring the world. The book Riding the Edge and Riding the Ice, he will tell you what this experience is all about. He said you will do this. So, let's come back to resilience. And if we think in our world, things do go wrong, people. Projects fail. Sometimes we don't make the deadlines. And sometimes market change to such an extent that we cannot trade anymore. But those are your explosions. The big thing is, your team will look at you in moments when you as a leader experience that explosion. So I think we should change our mindset. Maybe we should read the following. Resilience. Yes, we know it is tough. Things have changed. Yes. But here's what we're going to do next. To me, that's leadership. Oh, let's talk about the second pillar. Man, and this one is heavy. Integrity. That's something that's right here, close to my heart. I firmly believe that people follow people that they trust. There's no trust. Nobody's going to follow you. So what the important thing is that your leadership must be of such a nature that you ensure correct integrity so that people will believe in you. A couple of years ago, can't remember exactly how many years ago, I've invited Dave Barr to my previous Toastmasters Club at India. He came and delivered a speech. But listen, he never sugarcoated anything. I mean, that guy was straightforward. And he stood there on those legs. He said, there are two things in life that I absolutely hate. One is extreme Islamic, radical Islam. And the second is communism. And I will fight him with everything in me. Look, I'm not challenging what you believe. I'm not saying anything about that. Please do understand me. What I'm trying to do is drive a point home. And that point is simply, he knew exactly what he wanted in life. And he knew exactly how to say it without sugarcoating it. He lived integrity. While we're on integrity, I'll tell you another story. His commanding officer, Colonel Jan Breitenbach, was on the vehicle that day. The explosion went off. He was thrown from the vehicle. He had options. Am I going to save Dave Barr? Or am I going to go into hiding and save myself? As a true leader, he rushed into the hellfire He got hold of Dave and he pulled him out. He saved his life. So this is the real question. When things go wrong, who do you protect? Yourself or your people? Remember, your team will notice. You can demand performance any day of your life as a leader, but only integrity earns trust. Let's talk about the third pillar. Power. Aha, we all have power, isn't it? The question is, how do we use our power? I think there's two types of power. Positional power, in other words, your title. You know, why are you standing on the outside of your office? How thick is the carpet in your office? That is positional power. The other one is personal power. Your ability to influence people without using force. So, Dave lost his position as a mercenary, or in better English, a professional soldier. But his influence grew. He started a charity organization. He helped other war veterans. The mothers, the families who lost loved ones, and also the wives. He became a speaker, motivating people, inspiring people. He had the power to influence. Not by force, not at all. Because people wanted to follow him. You see, I firmly believe that we leaders want to control. We leaders want to hide when things go difficult. We leaders want to do blame shifting. Strong leaders, people, will uplift their people. Strong leaders will help. Strong leaders will elevate a country, a company, or a team. Strong leaders will go and grab you out of the fire when there's no one else who wants to do it. I'll conclude with this, and I want you to think about it. Leadership is not given. You need to take leadership to make a difference.
Frans does not have any evaluator because his speech was an educational on leadership. So he had to have an evaluator, but then we thought because of time, rather let it be an educational. So may I please have the Times report on this?
Wow, what a riveting speech, and delivered in a riveting 15 minutes and 59 seconds. Thank you, Frans.
And may I please have the comments hands?
Just master. From me, I didn't pick any. And some of the outstanding words and expressions that you have used in your speech blown out into pieces. I don't know whether that's an exaggeration or it really happened, but in the blink of an eye. The heat so intense it flew him higher to the earth. The ball of hell fire. So there I think getting a bit of exaggeration and it almost became an alteration at the same time. And you also had bouncing back. Apart from the continuous use of the word of the day, you had an excellent word, which is explanation. And overall, that was an excellent use of language. Thank you very much.